But sometimes it's no laughing matter. In 1998, the circle makers were hired to make a formation for a commercial, legally and in broad daylight. When believers found out, all hell broke loose. First, they hurled abuse. Then they hurled rocks. The circle makers escaped unscathed, but it taught them to give believers a wide berth.
You can't win with the researchers, really. I mean, they kind of hate and loathe us, whatever we're doing.
Despite their money-loving reputation, the circle makers are first and foremost artists who do most of their work anonymously under cover of night. It's a risky practice because every time they go into a farmer's field without permission, they're committing a crime.
You know, what you have here is a slight degree of adrenaline that you get when you're making circles in darkness. And you know you have to be out of the field before the sun starts to rise. And so things just happen quicker, I think, because there's more of a kind of psychological pressure on you to get it finished.
Once their eyes adjust to the dark, they can see well enough to work. On occasion, a believer or farmer stumbles upon them, and they have to put an escape plan into action.
John, Rod, down.
At the first sign of danger, they head to a designated meeting point in the tram lines. They bide their time until the coast is clear. And if they do have to leave the field, they face other hazards. Some can catch them by the seat of the pants.
Some of the risks involved are electric fences and barbed wire. I've lost a few pairs of trousers to barbed wire over the years. And cows as well. You got to watch cows because they can stampede, and that can be pretty scary and funny as well, actually, afterwards.
They're not those kind of docile creatures that they appear to be in the day. They transform into kind of, you know, rural juggernauts.
Back on David Hughes' farm, the circle makers are 3 hours into their formation. Now it's just a matter of measuring and getting their 90-degree turns perfect. But can they get it done in time? Today, the circle makers are working out in the open for cold, hard cash, but usually they take no credit for their work.
We've never claimed a formation, and we never will, because if you know, as soon as you do claim a formation, you just drain it of all of its power, and because they're authorless, people can then project their own kind of, you know, realities and imaginations and belief systems onto the circles. And you know, we very much want to perpetuate the circles phenomenon.
The circle maker creates it in secret. The believer responds to it, and the circle maker feeds off that energy. It's a complete, self-contained circle. One art critic commented that whoever or whatever made them is an artist of genius. In under 5 hours, our landscape geniuses complete their square, spiraling formation. The circle maker's job is done. For now.
Okay, guys, that's it. It's finished.
This shows that they can easily make a complex circle overnight.
Time for a drink, I think.
But just because the circle makers can make these formations doesn't prove all circles are man-made. It's time for science to enter the ring and try to settle the man-made or not man-made debate. We'll ask the experts about physical changes to plants in crop circles. And we'll take a hard look at balls of light that seem to appear around the formations. To prove that crop circles are not all man-made, believers have been turning more and more to what they consider hard evidence. The world's leading crop circle research group has been gathering samples for 14 years. In Cambridge, Massachusetts, not far from the hallowed halls of Harvard and MIT, is BLT Research. Nancy Talbot is the T in BLT. Talbot's not a scientist, but she coordinates the gathering and testing of samples from crop circles. With 13 professional consultants in fields like chemistry and aeronautical engineering, BLT's compiled a barrage of data.
I know that there is something which will enlarge our concept of reality by studying this, that we'll learn more things. We'll learn more than we know now about what we call reality.
BLT has published 3 papers about crop circles in 2 scientific journals. One study seemed to document that wheat seeds from inside crop circles developed at a different rate than seeds from outside. Another study analyzed the presence of a strange iron glaze in a circle, a study clouded by the fact that hoaxers claimed they scattered iron shavings around the site. But most of BLT's research has focused on the plants themselves, specifically the nodes, or hard, knuckle-like parts of the plants.
Perhaps the most critical of those early discoveries is the finding of elongated nodes, downed plants from inside the crop circles. They are markedly stretched, elongated. The man-made formations do not show this change. It's the best documented parameter that we have so far, and the most consistent.
BLT also believes that some sort of heat source, perhaps microwaves, are blowing holes in the plant's nodes.
What happens, the tissue is too tough, it's too fibrous, it will not expand. And as the steam builds up, it simply blows a hole right out in the node itself.
What's generating the heat? BLT contends it is an atmospheric energy. Back in the 1980s, physicist Terence Meaden first proposed that atmospheric forces might create crop circles. He theorized that a plasma vortex, something like an electrical tornado, could swirl down the crops. Eyewitnesses have reported both whirlwinds and balls of light over crop circles. But there's a hitch. No one has yet proven that plasma vortices even exist. That doesn't daunt BLT. They believe that 90% of all the circles they've tested were made by plasma vortices. They point to the fantastic shapes in nature as proof that a plasma vortex could create a complex formation. Personally, separate from the BLT research, Nancy thinks this energy may be trying to communicate with us.
My personal experiences have suggested the possibility that this energy system is conscious, has a consciousness, somehow or other interacts with consciousness.
But Nancy wants everyone to focus on the science, which she thinks can prove the existence of as yet undiscovered forces.
As these results are made public, I hope they'll inspire more scientists, and eventually we have enough people asking enough questions, maybe we'll have an answer to what this is. I hope so. That's our purpose anyhow.
For skeptic Randy, though, the plasma vortex theory is full of hot air.
Some people have said that they think that it's caused by vortexes in the air, that there are meteorological phenomena that produce this. Where was it back in the Middle Ages? Do they not have vortexes like this in the Middle Ages? Is this a new development that's happened with meteorology? No, it would not be possible.
When you're looking for answers about bent and elongated nodes in your wheat, who are you going to call? The grain doctor. Dr. Bob Cradaville specializes in grains and oil seed crops with the Agricultural Extension Program at the University of Maryland. Bob knows wheat, and he thinks BLT is jumping to conclusions.
It's my estimation that at this point in time, BLT hasn't eliminated all of the natural explanations.
Bob has seen many plants that have been knocked down by run-of-the-mill causes like wind and rain. This knockdown process is called lodging in the agricultural world, and he thinks the symptoms shown by crop circle plants seem an awful lot like plain old lodged plants, and exactly what you'd expect from human trampling.
What we have here is a picture of the bent nodes that are described by BLT, and what you can see is on the one side of the node, it's actually longer than on the other side, which would be the natural response a wheat plant would have when it's lodged. Its goal is to return itself to an upright position, so you get a lengthening on the one side of